Hello everyone and welcome to another Wayfarer's East Heroclix tutorial. In our last video we checked out the movement ability phasing teleport, and for this video we're going to be looking into the yellow attack ability pulse wave. Now pulse wave can be identified on the dial by looking for that yellow 10 there in the middle next to the fist, the attack symbol, and that means that Batman here can use pulse wave. And pulse wave defined as give this character a ranged combat action even if it is adjacent to an opposing character. The area of effect for this attack is half the character's range. Draw lines of fire to all other characters within the area of effect, including at least one opposing character. These lines of fire ignore all game effects except for walls, blocking, and elevated terrain. Game effects possessed or used by characters with a line of fire drawn to them are ignored until the action has been resolved. If a line of fire is drawn to more than one character, this character's damage value becomes 1 and is locked. Each character hit is dealt damage. Alright, that's quite the mouthful there. The first thing you need to pay attention to is give this character a ranged combat action. So you are making a ranged combat attack, but unlike regular ranged combat attack rules, even if the character is adjacent to an opposing character, the area of effect of this attack, or give him a ranged combat action even if it is adjacent to an opposing character. So you do not need sharpshooter ability in order to be attacking an adjacent character like World Breaker here. So Batman can unleash his pulse wave on World Breaker, no problem. And then the area of effect for this attack is half the character's range. So if Batman has an 8 range, then he can do pulse wave anything within 4 squares of his area. And it's including at least one opposing, or draw lines of fire to all other characters in that area of effect, including at least one opposing character. So that means that you can attack your teammates. Remember that. Your teammates can and will be attacked if they are within range and line of fire when you use pulse wave. So don't accidentally attack your characters unless you want them to be hit. And then these lines of fire ignore all game effects except for walls, blocking terrain, and elevated terrain. So your hindering terrain, gone. Unless a character has stealth and can't be seen to begin with, you can hit them in hindering terrain. Also, blocking terrain. So let's say there's a barrier right here. You cannot see World Breaker. I mean, normally you could because he's a giant, but let's say he's not a giant. You would not be able to see World Breaker with Pulse Wave because he'd be cowering behind a wall. Likewise, if you were right here and World Breaker was up on the ledge up there, you would also not be able to hit him simply because he's on a different elevation and not on the ledge in order to make a ranged combat attack. And then lastly, these lines of fire ignore all game effects. So game effects possessed or used by characters within a line of fire drawn to them are ignored until the action has been resolved. Well, what does that mean? Well, if you'll notice, World Breaker's got some pretty mighty abilities rocking on his dial here. He's got his special attack, or sorry, special movement. He's got Quake, Impervious, and Battle Fury. And that Impervious is a big one because, for those of you who do not know what Impervious does, when you are attacked and hit, you roll a d6, and on the result of 5 or 6, the damage is reduced to 0. So basically it's like the attack didn't happen, and otherwise the damage is reduced by 2. So it's an invulnerability on steroids. So Pulse Wave gets rid of all of those abilities as if they do not exist, which is really neat because you do not have to worry about super senses, you don't have to worry about damage reducers, you don't have to worry about anything. And so when you make your attack, it ignores all of those, and then if a line of fire is drawn to one or more character, or more than one character, this character's damage value becomes 1 and is locked. So if Thor is also an enemy, and Blue Batman is also an enemy, and Gandalf the White is also an enemy, you would hit all of those characters with 1 damage. So when you make your attack, you attack normally, so it's a 10 to a World Breaker's 19. And you got to roll your dice, and we rolled a 7, sadly, so we missed. But if we rolled an 11, like there it is in the background, you would do your straight 3 damage to Worldbreaker without having to worry about his impervious or damage reducer. Now, a couple things to remember, that each character that is hit by this attack will be dealt damage. So whether or not you are attacking a bunch of enemy characters or you're attacking one enemy and a bunch of friendly characters, they're all going to be dealt damage if the attack hits them. And then also don't forget that it ignores abilities and that it also ignores things like hindering terrain, so they don't get the +1 bonus when they're hiding in hindering terrain and you're doing a ranged combat attack. That's basically it for Pulse Wave. I hope you learned a little something about it. Like this video, check us out on Facebook and Twitter. Subscribe to Wayfarers East and also check us out on wayfarerseast.com. Without further ado, have a great day.